So go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
My name is Shelley.
Shelley. Okay, great. Thank you. So, Shelley, how did you come to find out about advanced spinal care?
I found out about advanced spinal care through friends of mine that have been coming for the last few years, and one friend in particular has told me, you need to go, and I'm like, oh, I want to, but I kept putting it off. It wasn't a priority until I ended up in a lot of pain a few weeks ago and made the phone call.
Yeah. So how or what is it that you've been suffering from that finally caused you to come in?
Well, I've had a lot of issues with my shoulder and back. I play the piano. I used to play for several days a week for several hours at a time for our church. And I would have burning sensations, knots in my back, and then I tend to carry my stress in my shoulders. I just get a lot of knots. And it would always work itself out. My husband would massage it or whatever. But a few weeks ago, the pain just gradually increased, didn't go away, then it started radiating into my left arm, all the way down my arm, and then I started getting numbness in my thumb, my finger, and my forearm, and I was starting to wonder, it's like, well, I'm pretty sure it's a pinched nerve, because it felt like my neck was out, but at the same time, I had never had those symptoms before, and I thought, well, I don't think it's a heart issue, but I don't know.
Right.
Until I went to get adjusted by a traditional chiropractor. I've only been to a chiropractor a handful of times in my life, maybe 4 times. And the chiropractor I had seen before was no longer there. It was a new one. And he adjusted my neck. It was very invasive, a lot different than the other chiropractor, and it scared me. And it gave a little bit of relief that day, but the next morning I woke up with excruciating pain in my arm. I've never felt that kind of pain before. I've had 4 children. I never felt that kind of pain. And so it gradually subsided after I took aspirin. I went to work. I thought of NUCCA. I thought of you guys, and I called, but of course it was the day that your guys are closed. And I just made it through work, had my icy hot, had my heating pad, had brought my ibuprofen, and I just made it through work, and it was okay. In the last hour of my work day, it just started increasing pain. And when I left, I just called my husband. I said, I'm going to stop by ER. I just want to rule out, I'm pretty sure it's a pinched nerve, but I just want to rule out that it's not a heart issue. And my blood pressure was really, really high, but they took chest x-rays, EKGs, all the stuff that they're supposed to do, ruled it out. And then they took x-rays of my spine and my neck, and they said, well, you've got degenerative disease in your discs in your neck, arthritis or whatever, and they said you basically don't have a lot of room, and that's what's causing the issue down your left side. And they didn't give me any recourse other than telling me that, well, you could go to physical therapy, we could give you pain medication if you want. I'm like, I don't want narcotics, and so they said you could go to the chiropractor. You mentioned you had chiropractic treatment. A lot of people get some good results. I'm like, I'm never going to a chiropractor again. I'll live with pain if I have to. So the next morning I called NUCCA first thing in the morning, and luckily I was able to get in right away. I told my boss, like, if they have an opening, I have to go. They're like, go.
Yeah.
And I came, and I was able to, I could barely make it through I don't remember everything Dr. Lipinski said because I was in so much pain. I was trying not to cry. And once I left, I was able to come back the next morning for my first treatment, and it almost made me want to cry just because it was so relaxing, so peaceful. There was not any pain, because I knew there wasn't going to be any manipulation or anything. But I didn't expect it to be so gentle. And then just the rest time in between the treatments, it was so wonderful. And he told me that, he said, you're probably going to want to crash. He said, you'll probably feel like you've been hit by a truck, but although since you're in so much pain, you might not even notice. I had the hardest time staying awake on my way home. I was not expecting that. I went home, ate lunch, and I slept all afternoon. My husband came home. After dinner, I slept, dozed off and on, and I thought, I'm not going to sleep tonight. But I slept all night long. I just was out.
Yeah.
And then the next day, my pain had decreased significantly. Over the next few days, over the weekend, it had cut down in half. And now I'm at like a 1. I went from 10 plus to like 1, 2.
Wow.
The only thing I have really left is I still have numbness in my numbness
Yes.
numbness in my thumb.
Yeah.
But it's starting to improve gradually.
Yeah.
So
Wow. So you really felt some immediate relief.
I did. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. Well, I'm so grateful that you can share your story, because I'm sure there's other people out there that have experienced pain and not had an answer to it. And that has to be the most frustrating thing, to just get, here's some medication to cover up the pain.
Right.
But we don't know what's wrong.
Right.
So, wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm excited to see the rest of everything heal up and see what else you see as things improve.
Right.
How's rest? I'm sure pain interrupted your rest at night.
Oh yeah. It took me a few days to all through the weeks leading up to that, I wasn't able to finding a position that wasn't tweaking my neck or hurting my arm was difficult. But the first few nights afterwards, I was trying to be, because I've always been a stomach sleeper, with my arm up over my head. And looking online, it's like, that's not a good way to lay.
Yeah.
So trying to relearn probably the first week, it's been challenging just to retrain myself to sleep a different way. And I'm using more of a neck pillow type of a thing. And so just learning that I can't just have that pillow that squashes all up.
Yes.
So, yeah. But now I'm sleeping really good. I'm sleeping
good.
really solid and like
Good.
I used to.
Yes. Well, how does your husband feel about this?
He wants to come. He's like, as soon as you're done,
Yeah.
then I'm going.
Right.
And my daughter, actually, she just moved to San Diego, and I just looked up and found a NUCCA, which is within just a couple of miles where they're at. She and her fiance are going to, they actually have an appointment for a consultation on Monday.
Oh, good.
And then I keep telling my sons, I'm like, you need to go. You
Yes.
need to go. And they're like, are you going to pay for it? Like, no, you need to go invest. And that's the whole thing. Is
Yes.
like, I have not ever really been proactive in investing in future.
Yeah.
And there's always other priorities, but life's always going to happen. And it's like, it's better now, because I was in a place of desperation, so I made it happen.
Yeah.
And I just need to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because I am worth that.
Yes,
having
absolutely.
value in myself for the longevity of my life.
Well, and if we wait for there to be an emergency, the emergency itself, an emergency room visit, typically costs more than starting as a new patient.
Right.
And the duration of getting yourselves right level, it's worth it to invest that in yourself instead of waiting for the emergency to happen.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that was
I
the thing that was so
completely agree.
frustrating about going to the emergency room. I went there to rule out a heart attack, and I'm thankful for that. But
Right.
to go this time during this season with all the COVID stuff, that's the last place I want it to be. Even without the COVID, that's not where I want to be. That's like the germ center.
Yes.
But to spend the amount of hours, the time that I was there, and then the money just to be sent home feeling just as bad as I went in,
Right.
without any answers, without any help other than, I'll give you a prescription if you want. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm so excited for the answers that you've gotten and the hope that it's given you and your family, it sounds like, too. So that's great. And I can't wait to see how the future turns out for you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.